I want to welcome you to our first Forward Insider briefing. I'm Rachel Fishman Feddersen. I am the CEO and publisher of The Forward. And, I've never actually presented from this computer at this desk with this background. So I feel like I'm looking down a little, but you as our insiders understand that you're really getting the inside look like at our offices. Thank you so much for joining us. If you can put in the chat where you're joining from, that would be great. We just want to give people another minute to come in. It's 12:01. So I right now am in Manhattan in our offices at 125 Maiden Lane. Sometimes I'm coming to you from Montclair, New Jersey, where I live. And if you have questions, this is just a rule for the presentation. If questions occur to you, there will be time to ask them. I'm going to put some breaks in, and or please put your questions in the thing called Q&A at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and that way we can see them. If it goes in the chat, sometimes it gets lost because it gets, hidden behind other stuff that people are saying in the chat. And I want to make sure that we get to as many questions as we can. Let's see. I see in the chat already, we have Deborah Dash Moore, who we visited with in Michigan a couple of months ago at Ann Arbor. Hi, Deborah. Glad you're here. Hello, Phyllis. Welcome. Welcome, Kelsey. Oh, from Cleveland. One of our favorite places. We were just in Cleveland. Jody spoke at the City Club. It was fabulous. So it's 12:02, one more minute. When my clock hits 12:03, I'm going to get started. And I'll just tell you a little bit why. Oh, hi, Joel and Evanston. I'll tell you a little why we are doing this. This is not the actual content, but this is the description of why we're doing this. Every year, we create our annual report, and we do this, look back and look forward at what we focused on, what we invested in, and what your support helped us achieve. We create this annual report, we put it up on the website, we mail it out, then we don't get a chance to talk to you about it. We thought, it'd be really great to offer an opportunity for us to tell you a little bit more about it, bring it to life, and take the questions you might have as you look through it. So welcome to our first Forward Insider briefing on past year's accomplishment and the impact of your giving. So I think we can get started. Next to me over here is Lisa Lepson, actually in my office. I'm not going to spin you around because this part looks nice. The rest of it doesn't look so good, but you'll see her on screen in a little bit. Lisa is our VP of development. So Lisa's now doing the slides and she's giving me the hold on a second. There we go. Here we go. It will be in presentation mode. Voila, here's the agenda. I'm going to talk about how we think about what we do with The Forward, really the most zoomed out strategic view of what makes our organization successful. I'm going to talk about how that translates to the various areas of things we've done, and we'll take Q&A throughout, and that's it. So when we think about our formula for success, it's excellence, audience, and revenue. It's always excellence, audience, and revenue. Excellence of the product, also excellence in the workplace, audience, reaching the people we want to reach, and the revenue that we need to support our mission. I think we can move on. So again, leading Jewish voice in American journalism, we take that very seriously. It is the core of what we do with The Forward. We are looking at reaching the people that we already reach more deeply, reaching people that we reach sometimes and bring them in closer, getting out to people who don't even know we're there on new platforms. So audience covers our touches and engagement with the Jewish community across the ideological spectrum, across different places, across ages. And in terms of revenue, the revenue comes from people like you, institutions like yours. We are supported by our readers and philanthropic organizations. We are a nonprofit. All right, that's who we are. That's what we do. Next. So I think everyone on this call knows that the past year has been a year like no other. It has been a time of intense focus on the Jewish community, on Israel, on anti-Semitism, throughout communities, throughout families. Even before the attacks on October 7th, it was an intense year. And that just put us into a new space that we are in now. In terms of audience, the highlight of last year and moving into this year was taking down our paywall. We called it universal access. We are calling it universal access. And up until the middle of October last year, we had a subscription structure. We had a paywall that kept people out. We took that down, and now we're letting everyone in. And that really just aligns with the mission of the Forward. And in terms of revenue, we have been increasing our donor base, and we ran our first ever capital campaign to support taking down the paywall. So getting to some specifics around these things. When we talk about some of the excellence that happened last year, we think about our trustworthy reporting. Readers tell us that they trust the Forward to tell them the truth. We are not coming at this with an ideological agenda. Our ideology, our editor-in-chief says, our ideology is one of inquiry and not a particular political bent. And you see that in this reporting from Israel, from the sort of the true agony that some Israelis, many Israelis are feeling. You saw this also with the access that our enterprise reporter, Arno Rosenfeld, was able to get to speak to the founders of the Students for Justice in Palestine. This is the only interview that we know of with that organization's founders, and it's really illuminating. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend. Next. We also launched the Anti-Semitism Notebook. That was one of the highlights of last year. Of course, it continues. This is supported by the David Berg Foundation and the GS Humane Foundation. This is led by our enterprise reporter, Arno Rosenfeld. This is a picture of him after a lot of hard work. It's our fastest growing newsletter. It is a weekly news and analysis product. It's not a daily, here's what you need to freak out about today. It's not a monthly, like, don't worry about it. Weekly, we think, is really the right cadence for staying on top of the news without having it control your life. Arno helms this, and he runs it with a real eye towards data and analysis. In fact, he and Jody spoke at Addis Israel in DC. I'm going to say it was early this year. It was great. If you ever have an opportunity to hear the two of them speak together, or just Arno or just Jody, I highly recommend. And I think we've got some notes in the chat here about how you can subscribe. It's at our newsletter page. Another thing we do is, as one of our organizing principles when we think about what we deliver to the readership is giving our readers clarity amid the chaos. You know, if you're on this call, there is a lot of news flying at you all the time from many sources, and it can be difficult to know what's most important to know about, how to understand it, just what the actual facts are. And the Forward brings you that clarity. One of the things we do is we bring together different points of view. We convene those difficult conversations. We hear a lot. We hear it from our readers. We hear it from our community, that people are having a very difficult time talking to each other. It's like, I just can't talk to them. But for the Jewish community, that is a damaging place to come from. If there are people in the Jewish community that you can't even talk to because it's too difficult, we want to be there as the Forward to bring you those points of view that might be really difficult to get to in your daily life. So you have here a couple of articles, how October 7th is reshaping the Zionist and anti-Zionist left in the US. There's, of course, breaches within different spots in the political spectrum, and a great piece from Rob Eshman, our writer out in LA, incredibly talented writer, tons of insight about how to talk to people who hate Israel. Great piece, kind of a service piece. And the way, we get a lot of input from our readers. We get donations with comments on them. We get emails. There are conversations on Reddit and different forums in our social media. We also get a lot of recognition for excellence from the journalism institutions, from the Simon Rockower Awards. We won the most Simon Rockower Awards for excellence in Jewish journalism, the Jewish Pulitzers, or as one person wrote to me and said, oh, you won the Julitzers. We have won the most of any Jewish media organization. And outside of the Rockowers, our writers have gotten recognition from mainstream press organizations like the New York Press Club, the LA Press Club, the investigative reporters and editors. And one thing that you should definitely check out if you have not is the story or the series with which we won Religion Story of the Year from the Religion News Association about what it's really like to be Jewish on campus right now. We have the team that was able to go on to, let's say, 11 different campuses around the country and get the stories from the students. Our editorial team runs from early 20s to over 70. We have many generations represented in our newsroom because that is the Jewish community. And we want to make sure that we're placed to get the stories that our readers need to hear. And in addition to the awards that we win, we see other mainstream outlets asking us for our reporters to help their audiences understand what's happening. So you can see here, Editor-in-Chief Jody Rudorin on CNN. You can see Arna Rosenfeld on CNN. You can see Jacob Kornbluh here on, I'm going to say News Now. I can't really remember which one this is, but we have the large and small outlets. Here's Nora on Scripps. I think Jacob might be on Fox. Our writers and reporters are across the mainstream news landscape. So when you support The Forward, you're supporting the product we put out, and you are supporting this Jewish institution's dedication to truth and clarity and getting those voices out into mainstream America, beyond our own social media presence and podcast presence and live events and Zoom events presence and around the country presence. We are also in other people's outlets, which we think is really important to help achieve our mission. In addition, when we think about excellence, I think I said this at the top, we don't only think about the product or the program, we also think about how we run the Forward internally. And one of the initiatives we're really proud of is our DEI initiative, our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Initiative, which is pushed forward by our task force founded in 2020, chaired by me. We have a statement of intent that we established in 2020, and we have been diligently and devotedly taking the time and focus and investment to increase DEI at the Forward and hopefully the wider world. So you will see these days much more diversity in the voices in the Forward, in the stories that we cover, in our staff with our Jews of Color Fellowship, and Robin Washington, who joined us in 2021. Robin is one of the coiners of the term Jews of Color, I believe. Our Forward Association's diversity has markedly increased, and we've also run and are continuing to run formal and informal professional development around DEI. So this is just one of the internal markers of excellence that we think is really important. I think that is the end of the excellence section. So I will stop for a moment and see if we have any questions. I'm scrolling through the chat and I'm looking in the Q&A. Okay, so there's time for you to keep asking questions, but we're going to move on to audience. So when we think about audience, when at every media organization I've ever worked at, excellence, audience, and revenue are the three legs of the stool. Without any one of these, you fall over. But what does audience mean? It's a very big term. So when we think about audience and what really matters to us at the Forward, we know our program is excellent. I just showed you just a few of the highlights. I mean, there's so much there, as you know, if you get any of our newsletters, if you look at our website, any of our social, you know, we are putting multiple interesting things out, important stories every day. So we want to make sure that it's reaching people, it's reaching more people, it's reaching them in a more impactful way. So last year, we took down our paywall. The Forward had a paywall like the New York Times, like the Wall Street Journal, and that had been in place for several years. And it was important for our earned revenue, but it was really getting in the way of our ability to reach new readers. And so we launched a 2-year project to mitigate the risks and to create the structure we needed to take down the paywall and launch a membership program. And since we took down that paywall, we have seen the impact on our reach, on expanding our reach, on reaching more website users, on having the people who come to the website read more pages, take in more of the content, and in our newsletter subscribers. We have a lot more numbers, but these are just some of the highlights. We also have invested in these audience increases. So we didn't just take down the paywall and expand our reach. We put the structure and investment behind it. As I said, this was the work of a couple of years to take down that paywall. So we've brought on dedicated staff, our new managing editor for audience, Julie Moose. We are working with the News Revenue Hub, who are really the leading nonprofit news organization that provides with the technical and strategic expertise, some strategies, benchmarking, other professional community. And that's a key piece of this audience focus. And we are doing more promotion. We are promoting on Google and Meta. We are going out there and telling people what we have. So the audience section was shorter than the excellence section. It's really important. Excellence is our program, so I can talk a lot about it. Are there any questions about audience? And you can hold your questions to the end if you like. I'm now going to turn it over to my colleague, Lisa Lepson, to do the revenue portion. Lisa is our VP of Development. This little arrow here is also her running the slides. So are you ready?
There's one, yes, but
just go to the next.
hi.
Are you there?
Hello, everyone. There is one question before we move on. Thanks, Deborah. There's one question for audience, which is, what is your goal on audience? So Rachel, do you want to speak to that? And then I'll take over for the next piece.
Sure. Our goal on audience is actually multifaceted. We have more than one goal. We want to be expanding every level of our funnel. We want to reach more readers who don't know about us. We want to more deeply engage those readers who do know about us. So if you don't know about us, we want you to know about us. If you do know about us, we want you to remember and come back. If you remember and come back, we want you to subscribe to the newsletter. And if you subscribe to the newsletter and you really like what you see, we want you to think about if the Forward matters to you. And if it does, we would love you to support the Forward. And so we actually have measures for each level of the funnel, and it gets rapidly into some deeper specifics than I have prepared for this call. And it's probably a rabbit hole, but we are looking at how each one of those works to reinforce fulfilling our mission and our revenue needs. All right, over to Lisa.
Great, thanks. And I would say that one of the things that Julie is going to be working on is getting very specific on our goals in terms of measurable impact and metrics. that's one of the things that she'll be working on. So moving on to revenue, this reflects what's in the 2023 annual report. And one of the things that the Forward is really proud of is aligned with our proud independence, we have a real diversity of revenue sources. So as you could see, our largest is major gifts, especially last year, which included our capital campaign. Foundations is strong, as well as subscriptions, and subscriptions will now be folded into our small donors moving forward. In 2023, we still had subscriptions, and that was why we were really strategic about how we moved forward to remove the paywall, because it was a significant revenue source. And those subscribers are now ongoing members, and we're happy to report that members are keeping their subscriptions as membership at a higher rate than we had projected. So we feel really good about the risk that we took to remove subscriptions and transition to a membership model. Many of our readers and supporters often ask us about advertising. As you can see, it is a factor in our revenue, but really dwarfed by our contributed revenue from readers and institutions. As many of you know, the Forward has been running an operational deficit for decades. And so last year we did take out, we shore up the gap with funds from our investment account. So that's an overview. Few things that we're very proud of over the last year. There's probably too many bullets on this slide because we have a lot of things we're proud of. The first is that from the very end of 2022, so really the bulk of 2023, we focused on ensuring that we could take down the paywall and put in all of the resources that we discussed to make sure it would be successful. And we're really grateful to our 36 donors who contributed 1.5 million over 3 years to allow us to do this. We're very proud of our continued largest supporters. Craig Newmark Philanthropies renewed for, I believe, our 5th year. The Goldsmith Foundation has become a significant supporter of ours, increasing every year over the last several years, and last year made a $500,000 commitment over last year and this year. We're extremely thrilled to bring on a new foundation, Mendel, this spring, committing $300,000 over 3 years. Another new foundation in 2024 is Bloomberg Philanthropies. And we also were really happy to partner with the Weinberg Foundation and Jews of Color Initiative to fund staff fellowships to help to increase our diversity and the diversity for the Jewish journalism field. Of course, as we've talked about, our switch to membership has been a huge focus for us, and we're also really pleased with how our readers have responded. Year over year, from when we took down the paywall, which was early December, through July, our membership gifts under 5,000 individuals, readers, has increased 35%. So we're really seeing an initial support and validation of this move. And of course, you know, we realize that over the past year or less, since December, our readers are really valuing our work more than ever because of what's been happening in the world and the news that we're reporting on. Is that the last?
I think it is.
Yeah. So we'll pause for a second if anyone has any questions on revenue, and then we're gonna close our piece with just a few notes on how we see the impact of all of these things, how they come together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, so I'm looking in the Q&A and I see one question, which is, what do you think of Tom Friedman's column? Which is like, that's a whole other seminar. I don't know which one you're talking about. He writes a lot of them. But if it was today, I was busy prepping for this seminar, so I did not read it today. But we can talk about it another time. So, like I told you at the beginning of this meeting, this is a first for us. And one of the things that I'm most pleased about is that it lets me thank you for your contribution to making the forward great. We have supporters on this call, and your support is critically important. We have some staffers on this call because we invited the staff to come and see, like, what is the zoomed out view of the forward? And they're critically important. Of course, they create the incredible journalism that you read. So thank you to the staff. We are really grateful to everyone here who makes this work possible. We think it's really important. That's why we're here. So, our readers send us lots of notes about why they're glad we do what we do. One thing they were really excited about was when we took down the paywall. This is a very tiny section or selection of the notes that we got flooding in from people who were like, wow, it is so great that you did this, and it's so important. It really shows that our readership understands and appreciates the importance of the forward. And this, you'll see on the next slide, that these readers think, and we think, that the forward's presence and voice provides information you can't find anywhere else. It makes space where people can think about new ideas. And like I said earlier in the presentation, and everybody knows from their lived experience, it can be very difficult to constructively encounter people you disagree with. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. Around really important emotional topics like the ones we cover, it can be really challenging. And so for the forward to make that space for the Jewish community to encounter itself, helps people, it says here, feel their Jewish identity more, and really strengthen the American Jewish community. And we're really proud of that. We think it's really important. So I think that's the whole presentation. I'm looking sideways because Lisa's sitting next to me, and we can take Q&A. Should we show the event highlights? We have a bunch of online and in-person events coming up. This is just a selection. If you go to forward.com/events, you'll see more, but these are some highlights. So our editor-in-chief, Jody Rudorin, will be on a panel during the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. That's going to be run by J Street. I think there's a congressperson joining them. That's next week. Next Saturday, we will be in person in Lenox, Massachusetts, in the Berkshires. That will be Jody speaking on Jewish challenges, Jewish solutions in the wake of the unthinkable. On September 15th, one of the things we'll be doing in Chicago is on the Navigating a Season of Judgment and Reckoning. That will be Jody in conversation with some rabbis who are also dealing from their seats with the kind of difficulty, conflict that's coming up in the community right now. And on the anniversary of October 7th, Jody will be at 6th and I in Washington, D.C. That will be a hybrid event that you can tune into, speaking about some of the human stories from October 7th. So that is our presentation. And I want to thank you for attending, and we'll go to Q&A, but I just really wanted to say one more time, thank you for everything you do to support the forward. I guess we could go to, I don't even know if we can go to
No.
gallery. No, you can't. Sorry. I wish we could. I love getting the human feedback, like when I can see your faces, but I can't see your faces right now. So I'll just have to look for your questions in the Q&A if there are any questions or comments. Oh, one that I didn't answer live is, are forward stories distributed on Apple News? Now I can say yes. A couple weeks ago, I couldn't say that because we have spent actually an inordinate amount of time trying to clear out multiple roadblocks to get the forward stories up there. But now we are on Apple News in a live, frequently updated way, And we are working on actually increasing our presence there. So yes. Let's see. Oh, I think we might be like gallery view now.
No.
Oh, we're not. No, just took down the presentation.
I just took down
I was
the-
excited. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Well, you know where to find me. It's rachel@forward.com. So if anything occurs to you later, please reach out. It's really like a pleasure and a privilege to interact with people who believe in the forward, which is you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I think we can wrap.